Good evening, my name is Jifa Bampo and you're welcome to the Joy News channel on Multi TV. Tonight is another edition of Joint Caucus. In 2 days, the limited voters registration program will be all over. But we're going to be talking about the 8-day process so far and matters arising. It's been a mixed bag of action. There's been some fighting, there's been some assaults, and there's been some court issues, all related to the limited voters registration exercise. There's also been some disappointment for some first-time registrants who are struggling to get the registration done. We'll be looking at that as well. But in the midst of all this, then came a Supreme Court ruling that directs the Electoral Commission to remove unqualified voters from the roll. All that will be our subject of discussion here tonight on Joint Caucus. Thank you very much for staying with us here. And just to let you know that you can send your comments, your experience about the limited voters registration exercise. You can send them to 0560 800 000. You can also join us on Facebook. It's facebook.com/joynewsontv. Now, joining us this evening is Edward Bauer. He is the NDC's parliamentary nominee for the Bongo constituency. He's also the communications specialist for the Petroleum Ministry. We'll also be joined by the representative of the New Patriotic Party. But let's welcome Mr. Bauer to Joint Caucus. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Jifa.
All right, thanks for joining us. So, an eventful limited voters registration program over the last 8 days. Your assessment?
Thank you very much, and good evening to your viewers. I think basically, if you were to look at the general exercise, I think that we would say, by and large, it's been a very successful one. There are spots or flashes of disturbances that, to the ordinary Ghanaian, could have been avoided. But if you were to have a general, maybe a national assessment of it, I think it has been very good. In terms of turnout, I have a feeling that the turnout is not that good. If you were to look at specifically, you take the assessment, you base your assessment on the 2010 population census. Per the estimate, it is assumed that by 2016, we should have roughly about a little above 1 million young ones turning 18 and therefore are qualified to vote. Actually,
the Electoral Commission's target is 1.2.
Yeah.
I understand they are actually nearing that target.
That target,
yes,
okay.
That's what I'm picking up.
Then that
they are
means
actually nearing that
target. That means that at least it is consistent with what the population census figures seem to be giving us. So I think that generally it's been good, and I would say that to a very large extent we need to congratulate a lot of Ghanaians for what they have done.
I must say though that generally in Accra seems to have been quiet, process moving on. Of course there are some issues which will
Upper East has been good.
Upper East quiet, Upper West relatively quiet, Northern region too.
Yes.
Bit quiet.
Volta region quiet.
Well, I guess with Volta region, isn't it to be expected? That that's your stronghold, so it will be quiet for you.
No, but basically, I mean, so why should the stronghold of one party be quiet and the stronghold of another party be noisy?
And that's the point I was coming to, because the pockets of violence, tensions, disagreements we've seen are Ashanti, Eastern region. I'm hearing of bits of Western region as well. In Greater Accra, I'm told there were some incidents, just that I guess they didn't get the kind of attention that the problems in these regions had. Let me ask you, why do you think that these pockets of violence and disagreements and challenges have emerged?
One thing you have to observe is that if you look at areas where we have had situations of some tensions, it has been most often than not marginal seats. Seats where for example, maybe NDC won by maybe just a slim margin, or MPP won by a slim margin. And therefore, candidates or prospective candidates of the various political parties will want to be vigilant to ensure that names that are coming on the register should be names that, in their opinion, may be favorable to them or otherwise. Particularly when you do that, your reaction will be based on which geographical area you find yourself in. So that is to be expected. Places where you have margins being so wide, you don't normally have those challenges. Or at best, you have a situation where people are trying to ensure that the stronger party does not seem to be pushing a lot of people into the fray. But Ashanti region has been a very peculiar one. In that, and I'm sure that was the reason why I was talking about I intentionally mentioned Volta region. I intentionally mentioned Volta region because, I mean, it's a stated fact that over the years since 1992, the Volta region has always been a very favorable region for the National Democratic Congress. And so it is also expected that for all other parties, including the MPP, they would want to see a lower turnout in terms of new entrants into the register. So definitely want to see that, because the probability of somebody maybe registering in Volta region and voting for NDC is high based on historical data. So you may want to be, expect that these are things that will happen. The same can be told of Ashanti region.
Okay, but I think it's a bit different this time around, in a sense, between the Ashanti region and because the Volta region, let's be honest, is not overly cosmopolitan. You don't have too many different people in the region.
Yes.
So unlike in the Ashanti region, you have a whole lot of other people or indigenes coming in apart from indigenous Ashantis. Okay, so I guess there's a greater sense of a competition in the Ashanti region than in the Volta region.
No, the whole idea, and I'm going to tell you, even though the main political opposition party, and I'm talking about the New Patriotic Party, they have not stated it clearly. You will know that since the day that the NDC declared that as part of our target, and it is legitimate to set targets as a political party. The 1 million
target in
the Ashanti region. Mm-hmm. The whole idea was to ensure that, look, where are you going to get your votes from? If in the Ashanti region, is it, and that's what you're talking about, the cosmopolitan nature of the place. Is it the real indigenes? Or is it people who have migrated to the place because of economic or other reasons? So they look at all those things. And therefore, it is to be expected that for every party operative within that particular area would want to see, look, if it is that the tendency of seeing tribe A voting for this party or tribe B voting for this party, because of that particular tendency, if such a person is going, and you know, before the elections, before the voting, you know, there was this issue where our own party's deputy general secretary had indicated that there was in Swami in particular, there was this exercise where people were going to check, and then
there was a survey being conducted.
No, that was the narration of the MPP. That there was a survey. He said that was the narration of the MPP. They said they were
undertaking a survey and running checks. Their political party.
Our information was also the fact that they were trying to earmark these people for their own reasons.
Okay, but that's so okay.
Yeah. So but
obviously in the Volta region, it's also easier for your members who or people acting on your behalf to stifle the possibility of any other party also trying to make the kind of inroads that you may be easily making in another region.
At least the evidence available to us now does not suggest that there has been any attempt to prevent other people from coming from registering. So on the basis of that, I think that it brings
me to the issue of bringing people in from across borders, where we've heard complaints. There's been no direct accusation, I must say, against the NDC, but there have been accusations that some agents acting on whose behalf we're not sure have been seeking to bus people in to the border, across the border. In the Volta region, we had that complaint coming from the NPP's chairman, John Peter Amewu.
That was before the exercise started.
Oh, even during the exercise, they've had a press conference about that. In the Western region, there's also been that complaint coming from Jomoro. Let's hear some complaints that we have visuals on. We'll talk in more detail about that, where there's the suggestion that in the Western region also there have been some issues.
What you have recognized over here is that people are from the lagoon side, different places, they are sending them here to come and register here, have their voters ID card, so that when it comes to the real point, they come and vote here. And if you give them chance to register and they have their voters ID card, you can't stop them when they are coming to vote. So this is the time that you have to do. You have nowhere to go and report. So as far as you are here, being a press man, we are reporting to you so that you send the message. If tomorrow itself, when it comes to the voting time, they can postpone tomorrow voting time to any time at all. You will like it because you know the number of people in Jomoro, and you are coming. People are coming. They are floating in. What they did to Sami Aba is happening again.
But do you know the people who are coming in? Or
I've even talked to some of them. They can't even express themselves speaking our language in Zema. But for language, it's not a problem. Listen, language is not a problem. Anybody can learn any language. Language is not a problem because I can learn and then speak. But still yet, if you ask the person, hey, the person come from, he will tell you I'm from Benin. Just show me where you come from, your home, where you live. They can't even identify the place. So about 20 people are pointing out, I'm from this person's house. How can these people be in your house? No, it's not possible. And you don't know them. You don't know their relatives in this town.
The EC officials, what are they doing about this?
Well, you have reported to them. They are under law. You know, whatever you tell them, there's a forms that you have to fill. Yes, of course, you can fill the forms, you do everything. But you don't know what will happen in future. I'm saying this because, assuming there's a police barrier here, and there's a police over at Tikobo, and there's a smuggler coming from Tikobo number 1. A policeman can call Benin police that there is a smuggler coming, car number so and so is coming. The policeman can stop the car. If he couldn't find anything, he can still wait until the other police come and then do the investigation. So we are doing this for the pressmen to come in to interview people. You can go around and call out those who are lined up to come and do that and ask them if whether they are from here. You know yourself.
Thank you very much.
This has never happened before, but you knew this happened Sami Aba time. That's what they did to overthrow Sami Aba, and they still want to do it, Master. If you are doing something good, continue doing it, and the people will see it and then help you be on the seat. Because you are not doing good things, that is why you are doing that. It's not fair.
All right, so you heard those complaints coming from the Western region where they say some of the people are coming in, they don't even speak the language. It's clear that they are not indigenous of the area, they are not resident there, and so really this is unacceptable. Samia Wuko of the New Patriotic Party, National Youth Organizer, has joined us on the show. Good evening, thank you for joining us. All right, so we've been talking about general observations about the limited voters registration exercise. 2 days to go. Quickly, let me take your observations before we launch into the critical issues that have come up.
Well, let me say good evening to your cherished viewers, but I think you missed out on Top Story at 5:30. I'm saying this because when I joined in, I overheard you saying that nobody has accused the NDC directly of bringing in foreigners. Today, the General Secretary of the NDC has made a very shocking revelation when he spoke to Evans on Top Story, that they all bring in foreigners and minors because all the political parties do it. And I want to state on record that we will not blow hot and cold at the same time. The NPP has been clear in its mind that Ghanaian elections are for Ghanaians. And so anybody who is of age that's 18 years and above, of sound mind and a Ghanaian, has the right to register, has the right to vote or be part of the decision-making process. And so it's only when you are not sure of the Ghanaian vote, it's only when you do not believe you've done enough to merit their mandate, that is when you begin to look for other excuses and other nationals to come and show up your vote. So this revelation comes at a time that there's been accusation, counter-accusation from both sides. And I am very happy, and we feel vindicated that at least the NDC's General Secretary has spoken the truth for once about this matter.
Okay, so, unfortunately, I think categorically
that's what I'm saying.
It's difficult for me to understand the context within which you are speaking, because
I am not making it up. I said Evans. I spoke on Top Story. I was spoken to as well on the other end, and I said we will not blow hot and cold. And we even recommended that the NDC's General Secretary should be invited by the security agencies because we have not invited foreigners. In fact, yesterday you had a bus, an Ivorian Tata bus, wide registration. I have the registration number here, crossing the border with nationals heading towards Elembele to go and vote, to go and register. Our agents there had to protest and prevent them. So it's a worry.
At least you're working.
Well, it is, but it's a worry.
But I did mention though that John Peter Amewu had raised this issue, only that he didn't directly put it at the doorstep of anyone.
But we are not speaking in vacuum. we're putting at the doorstep. We've always said it. That is the NDC that is engaged in it. We are not talking about the PNC or the PPP. We know our target. We know who we're talking to.
Now, Mr. Barr, care to respond to
yes,
that?
I think that first and foremost, I didn't also listen to Top Story.
Okay, but there's the general accusation from
I'm just trying to, but the statement he made is a statement that we need to look at. I want to believe that, and I'm sure you equally didn't hear it. I don't want to believe that our General Secretary would have categorically stated that because other parties are bringing in minors and registering foreigners, so everybody's doing it. No, I'm very convinced. Knowing the General Secretary we have, he would not say that. So I don't want to believe Sammy, and I want it to be on record. I don't believe him.
There's been a lot of fighting, though, about bringing in, trying to put minors onto the roll.
The minors, the issue is this. There are procedures. If you look at the Electoral Commission, they have set out procedures that look, for example, if you see an individual and in your own opinion, maybe based on your own suspicions, you think that this person either is not a Ghanaian or does not even qualify to go on the register because the person is a minor. There are procedures you need to follow. There are challenge forms you need to fill. There are other steps you need to take. And because this is a country of laws, and therefore, if that is the case, if you are very sure of yourself that this person that you are looking at, you don't know him in your neighborhood, he doesn't come from that, and even from the statement you made, that the person doesn't even speak the language, you can challenge that. And on the basis of that, you would be able to ascertain as to whether the person is a Ghanaian or not.
But
these are things that...
I don't know. It brings this point about why we're having all these pockets of violence, disagreement. It's because the parties are involved in the process. Do political parties have to be involved in this whole process and bring all this rancor, fighting, disagreement, courts, this and that?
As for our involvement, we have to be involved. We are major stakeholders. We are made because, look, 2 days before the commencement of the exercise, the Electoral Commission was involved in branding and rebranding about logos and all. It took the NDC's presidential candidate to be advertising the limited registration exercise. It took the NPP's presidential candidate and the NPP campaign team to be doing so. So if the political parties are not involved, it's going to be worse. However, on the issue of thuggery, machoism, and the violence that has characterized some of the registration centers, that is worrisome. And we strongly believe that a time has come that the security agencies must be fair and firm. If an NPP man breaches the law, the same speed and haste that he will be apprehended and dealt with, the same thing should be done when an NDC operative also breaches the law.
It's interesting you are saying this because you had your party-on-party violence. You are not letting it go according to the legal process that you are outlining.
But Javadas is incorrect. It's incorrect because alternative dispute resolution is part of our legal process.
Would you encourage alternative dispute resolution?
It's part of it. I mean, you can't take it out.
You are just indicating here that.
But I wanted to point out another thing about the limited registration. Legon. This afternoon, I heard you speaking to, I think, the SRC president. It's all part of the limited registration.
It's just that
or
the
you just want
issues,
us to talk about violence?
We'll go to the Legon issues because that's about first-time registrants, the limited numbers of registrants. So that's a separate. I want us to wrap up on this. And Edward, you were making a point before you stopped.
But the point I was just basically making was that, look, as a country, we have laid down regulations. As to the involvement of political parties in this, yes, it's true. All political parties are supposed to have agents who are supposed to be there. To a very large extent, all the pockets of tensions that we've had in this place, we have not allowed agents to work. Because if you were to say that Mr. A is my agent and representing my interest on this particular police station, it is for the agent to say, look, based on the information I have, this person is this or this person is that. But what then happens is that you have party machinery moving from place to place. And indeed, you know that even to the extent, and I'm happy that in his own conversation, he started bringing an area that I was very surprised he was bringing. Even to the extent that even at places where we have had violence, established violence, and official complaints made as a result of one reason or the other, you have the whole party headquarters moving to Ashanti region to help people on the streets to not necessarily ransack could be a very strong word, but at least go to besiege a whole police station because they want to get somebody out of the police cells. If you want the laws to work, if you want the police people to do their work, it is important that we set examples, irrespective of whoever it is, that if you break the rules as a result of this exercise, you should be punished and punished properly.
So that is the point.
Again, the registration of minors today, I think an EC official in Tamale openly stated that the NDC is registering minors in Tamale, and it's also on record. So
have your members filed the official complaint?
As for registering minors, it's been part of the NDC strategy.
It's not been part of your strategy.
The NPP is not scared of the people's mandate.
Pardon?
The NPP is not scared of the people's mandate. And that is, we know we've done a lot of work. We know people are feeling the harsh conditions on the streets of Ghana today, in our homes and hamlets. For the first time, electricity prepaid credit, it exceeds that of your rent you pay in a year. People know. So we do not have to bring in minors and foreigners to show up our numbers. That has been our position. But again, I don't know when you want us to go to the deliberate disenfranchisement of the students of Ghana. He's been a former student leader. And I was expecting him to at least make a clarion call.
Sammy will come to that. So what is the way forward? What's the way forward in preventing any further rancor on the ground? Because it's just 2 days more for this whole process to wrap up.
Yeah.
In terms of you, the parties, and how you act. You shouldn't be registering minors. You shouldn't be busing people into the country.
It's devilish.
I think, it's shameful.
Yeah.
And indeed, that's because at the end of the day,
you are a parliamentary candidate.
It's shameful.
And I'm surprised in your constituency is happening.
Whose constituency? My constituency.
He's bringing, you said he's
my
bringing
constituency.
people from where?
He's registering minors in his constituency.
You say he's registering minors.
I'm not talking about.
You have evidence.
He knows what I'm talking about.
You have evidence to that.
I'm going to show you pictures and you'll be amazed.
The point we need to make is that we have about 2 days to go.
Yeah.
One thing we need to do very clearly is that we should, if we stick to the regulation, and that's, if you realize the whole evening I've been talking about it, if we stick to the regulation, what we have put in place as human beings to guide us, we would have this exercise without any incident. And I think that is what we should be doing. We should not think, and I don't know why people always think that if you were to see an individual in the queue, the person necessarily will be voting for you or be voting for somebody else. Why? Since when did you become soothsayers in this country? That you can see through a human being and know that this person who is in this queue, this person is going to vote for an MPP or an NDC. So let's let the regulations work. And besides that, you see, sometimes when we talk about minors, sometimes we are not too sure whether really we are talking about minors. I have come across people, and indeed that was about 2 weeks before this exercise. I'd come across a gentleman, and in the course of our conversation, I asked him how old he was. And he told me he was 21 years. Jifa, the truth of the matter was that this was a guy I thought in my own estimation that was around 14. But he was a bit smallish in his physique and other things. So sometimes some of these things, and unfortunately we are unable to use birth certificates and other things to do that. But at least you have the person's parent who will come and say, I am the one who gave birth to this human being. And I'm telling you that he was born on this day and that day. So at the end of the day, unless somebody else has counter information or counter evidence that this person is not, then you just have to allow the person, by virtue of the fact that the person has been created smallish, should not in itself be a way of preventing him from exercising his right as a Ghanaian. So that is what we should be looking at.
All right, and it's still Joint Caucus on the Joint News channel on Multi TV. Our guest, Edward Bauer, who is a parliamentary nominee for the NDC for the Bongo constituency, and also Sammy Oku, who is the national youth organizer for the New Patriotic Party. You can send your messages to our line 0560 800 and 000. I'll repeat that, 0560 800 000. You can also join us on Facebook, facebook.com/Join News on TV. When we come back, we'll look at the issue relating to the young people, the students, especially the first-time registrants, which seems to be dear to the heart of Samuel Uko, and I hope also Edward Bauer, who also was a student leader. We take a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're talking about the limited voters registration program and matters arising. We just have 2 more days for that program. It will wrap up on Sunday. The Electoral Commission has indicated that it's not exactly clear whether it will extend. It will have to review the program before it makes that determination whether there should be an extension or not. And this is just because there have been people who've been complaining that it's been difficult to get the registration process done. Let me come to Sami, we know that the University of Ghana has been a classic case where the Electoral Commission has had just one registration center up until yesterday. I understand that there are 2 registration centers as of today. The promise was to bring 2 more, so it should have been 3, but somehow it's 2. The concerns you've been raising about that.
I mean, I don't want to even miss it. This afternoon, Joy News reported that for 5 hours, students being in there, only 16 people had been registered from morning till midday. 16. And assuming that they even quadruple it, it's still likely to be less than 100 being registered for today. And you only have 48 hours to go. And I read your online, just the first paragraph. Huge numbers of registrants are likely to miss being captured in the ongoing limited biometric voter registration. It is clear. It might not be the EC's intention, but practically on the ground, huge numbers are being disenfranchised. The KNUST, the first phase of it, they had no registration center on campus. In fact, the one that was closer to the campus was at Eduase. And you have a population close to 8,000 people who had attained the age of 18 and above and had, potential voters. If you go to University of Cape Coast, they had no registration center on campus. First phase. If you go to University of Education, Winneba, 1. And they have about 3 or 4 campuses, he knows, in Winneba. And across the country, we strongly believe that at the heart of the EC's job is getting Ghanaians who have attained that age to register. And when they register, you also facilitate to make it easier for them to vote. That is the EC's core mandate. Getting people to register, getting people to vote. So if the EC messes out on its core duty, then you begin to wonder what exactly they happen about. The political parties have argued. In fact, in 2012, President Mahama was one of the people who advocated for many youth to register. The NDC strategy this year has been different because they've lost the youth of our country.
So what's their strategy according to you?
They are not bothered about the huge student population missing out. Have you heard them making even a formal statement? Have you heard them? Give me one official of the NDC who has been at the forefront, even pleading with the EC to go to the aid of these students. It's been the opposition.
Mr. Bauer.
And
please,
anyway,
you have the
Okay. Look,
you have the liberty to do that, to save your party.
Let me make a point.
Okay, but this issue with the students, do you care at all?
No, I care. And to be very sincere with
I mean
you,
the party,
yes,
generally.
I think 2 days ago, I was on Legon campus myself. There were guys from my own village who wanted to register because they had attained the age of 18 and they wanted to register. I know that it was just one center that was just at Legon Hall. Yes, yes. And I also realized that, look, it's a revision week for students because they need to go and write exams. So because of that, students were a bit jittery because they were keeping so long there. I don't speak for the Electoral Commission. I felt that, yes, and I believe that most of my party officials have heard them talk, have spoken about this. That, look, it is important that you make things easier for people, particularly first-time voters, that when the person can, his experience should be very good. Because he doesn't want the situation where he comes and then for about 3-4 hours he's on the queue just to go back and fail his exam. He may link his failure to registration, and that may be a very bad experience. This doesn't benefit any political party. I think that the EC itself needed over a period of time to make an assessment of their own operations. I think that it is one of the reasons why, based on the complaints from the campus, particularly USAC, I think USAC isn't issued issued a statement.
And then the SRC had a press conference as well.
Issued that they have now increased the number, the number of centers in the place there. So I think that it's an area that they need to look at. And EC itself should always ensure that, look, in some of these things, they shouldn't cast them in stone. As and when things move on, they should know when to add, when to take off, depending on the numbers they have. I'm sure their projections that they had made felt that maybe one center would have helped. But upon second thought, based on the complaints that have come, and it is not only the MPP that is doing, because for us, we still believe that at the university campuses, we still have a very strong members there who definitely need to be captured. Because
we've not heard your group, is it 10?
Mm-hmm.
The
10,
NDC,
yes.
No heard 10 say much about this.
No, but the question is that we don't necessarily have to say before you know that we are worried.
Well,
you don't need to say. I'm sitting down here. This is national television, and I'm making that point that as a party, we are worried that students are not being given the opportunity to do. EC must work on that. And it is not, but you see, I refuse to accept also Sami's attempt to link the fact that what do you call it?
What is happening there shows that you don't care about the young people.
I refuse to accept that, because for us, we know that based on the nature of the type of president we have, how he is so close to the youth themselves see the swag in him and other things and can identify with him. So why would excuse my language, a 72-year-old man be more excited about youth as compared to somebody who's in his 50s? So that is the point that you see. No.
Anyway, but let me just make a point. Apart from the fallacious argument, your conclusion. It's interesting that you think that it doesn't benefit any political party, the situation on campus. It does benefit the NDC.
How?
If many more youth do not get captured in our register.
Really? How does it benefit? Because the youth population is deemed to be the largest.
It's the largest. We call it the student movement. And himself and myself, we are products of this student movement. I can confidently tell you, moving around the country, the campuses and the colleges of education and all that, the NDC's popularity has dwindled. And so now getting many more of these youth to vote or to register will not favor them. So it could be a strategy. Really? And that's why they've not been at the forefront. Knowing the NDC, very vociferous on matters, and if they believe that it's their middle belt, their constituency, being disenfranchised, he will not be this diplomatic in his choice of words. He's going to be at the forefront.
Because the president has been talking about opportunities for young people over the last 2 weeks.
I'm sure we'll discuss the president's matters.
Yesterday he was
yesterday something interesting happened. Students, senior high school students, were given orders to go listen to the president. It wasn't their own volition. As at 10 p.m. I'm telling you, I'm a product of a Cape Coast school.
But if
the senior house masters, the headmasters, were told by the regional coordinating council to bar students to go and listen to the president.
Are you telling me that if it was an MPP president
we will not.
was speaking to young people, you will not ask young people to go and listen to him?
Several campuses with Dr. Baumia. We do not bar people.
No, I'm not saying
with
that.
I'm just saying, we do not bar people.
I'm just saying.
See the natural reflection of people in their natural element. You had it on the campus of the University of Cape Coast. That was where the program was hosted. If the University of Cape Coast students were not interested, you think that the senior high school people that you are talking about hard economics, they can more or less contextualize it. Then you are speaking to a group of people that you don't know your target. But you've been what surprises me most is that you can have a program on the campus of University of Cape Coast, and they will have to take you to bar students from Agri, National, St. Augustine's, Addis Adel, Kwabuche, for you to show up your numbers in the room. You should have been at Accra Poly yesterday. We do not bus a single, in fact, not even a taxi.
And I check how many students of Accra Poly.
And then we had the whole place overflowing its banks. May I sympathize with you. In 2012, you are you are at the forefront mobilizing the youth for President Mahama. It looks like now the president is taking a walk into opposition. And I can tell you, testing the pulse of the youth from where I sit.
Good.
But I wish you luck in your parliamentary ambition.
Not success.
Because wishing you success means I'm wishing you at the detriment of my own people.
Okay,
but I wish you luck.
Jifa, the impression Sami has, and I've always heard Sami because he follows Dr. Baumia around. When he moves around those training colleges, and he says there lies to radio stations in Accra, creating the impression that you have numbers. We have seen pictures. We have seen pictures of empty halls.
Oh, really?
We have.
The last empty picture was when you were with Campus Connect. That was when you had empty halls. We never had empty halls.
It is important that you listen to people like this when they tickle themselves and laugh. So the MPP has always believed in crowd issues of we had press conferences. We do press conferences and crowds don't win elections. What wins election generally is whether your promises, whether your manifesto, whether your achievements, people can identify with that. That is what wins elections,
and
not the fact that
if you don't believe in crowd, why do you pass this?
No,
yesterday you did. I can show you pictures.
Pictures of
10 p.m. and senior high
so
school
it meant
students in the hall.
for you, for all the programs, for example, in Hohoi or something, you see.
We didn't pass it.
No, hold on.
St. Francis.
Hold on.
Yes.
You had a hall there, isn't it?
Yes.
People came from different schools and came there.
The students there
also
filled the room.
Sammy,
I'm telling you.
I heard you yourself.
Where?
Indicating that because they had denied you access to one of the halls.
That was the Dambai College of Education. Where you spoke to share Gary.
Why wouldn't you let me make my point?
Sorry.
You see, the point that they denied you when you went to a particular place.
Yeah,
and then you now had students coming from various schools.
Oh, yeah.
They floated to your place. They didn't come with bus.
Let's come back to the point.
They didn't come with a bus.
Okay, let's come back to the point of how do we prevent these students, first-time potential registrants, from being disenfranchised. We just have 2 more days, and you and I know that on weekends the queue is even longer. Because if on a weekday people are at work, the queue is like this, then it means weekend is worse. And it's unclear, and it's not clear that the EC will extend this process.
Yes, we do not know that, because unless the EC, because there has been history. I mean, we have history that suggests that there are certain times where you have individual, because of the situation, EC will say, look, we want to do X, we want to add this number of days to it because of what we have realized. I think that the EC, and again, I'm not speaking for the EC, but by virtue of the fact that I belong to a political party that has an interest in the activities of EC, I think that the EC has increased the number on Legon campus. If they think that, look, even within that, they cannot register all the people, they must make sure that every student who is capable of registering and wants to register and has attained the age of 18 is a Ghanaian.
So for you, they must do what they can to
you know, I thought Edward was going to join me to make that clarion call and a passionate appeal to the EC. Not to just increase the number of machines, but to also extend the days on the campuses for these students. One, they are in a revision week. In fact, some have started exam. When we taught there 3 days ago, some were writing exams. A lady said, Dr. Baumi, I've been here since 6 a.m. and it was 1 p.m. And if you look at the queue, it was just clear that the lady will get registered at midnight. That's assuming the people decide to do overtime.
Stay on
and so the frustrations are there. So it's not enough for Edward to say, oh, we come from a party, a tradition. What we're saying is, these people must be registered. They've made an effort. It's not that they are just sleeping in their rooms and singing vandal tunes. They've made an effort. They've gone to the registration point. But there is an impediment in their way between them and their desire to be part of the decision-making process. And the MPP is saddened by the development. And we want to also urge the NDC to join us, the forefront, in appealing to the EC to increase the number of centers across the country. But with just 2 days, if you even increase it to 5 on a campus, you will still not be able to meet the target.
Why are you in a hurry to decide for the EC when you know that we still have 2 days? Even within the period when people started complaining, there was an increase in terms of...
Maybe you didn't listen to Jifa. Jifa said there was a promise to increase it to 3.
Yes.
But as of today, it was only 2.
Yes.
So meaning that even the promise they made...
we still have 2 days. Let's see whether after
for 8,000 people.
Look, you don't. Where did you get this your number?
Is Dr. Agridak, a political scientist on the campus, has made projections and is telling you that if you check the population of the University of Ghana, those they admitted this year, if you also make extrapolations and even go back to those who had the opportunity of getting enrolled into the university 4 years ago, some got into the investment when they were 16, 17.
The same way you also projected that based on the population census of 2010, this is the figure that we will see.
What this man, what this supposed
let me commend you, Enjoy FM Multimedia, for also championing the cause of these students for them. This afternoon, I was amazed the time you gave to these students to also air their views. And I don't think you should stop there. We have 2 days to go, but you guys can still do something about it.
But you know, some of the students who have also gone to their mother constituencies to register. I do know that we have a huge number of students who have moved into my constituency, for example, to go and register.
So because they traveled all the way to
but they are comfortable going to register in their
because but at that time, November 7th,
they'll be on campus.
Yes, but there's some. throughout
So
my
he's
student
bashing
life,
Bongo
throughout my
students
student
to
life,
Bongo. That's it.
throughout my student life, I always went to Bongo.
But he's telling you, he said he knows for a fact. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with
it.
it. If you take Bongo students,
No, I'm not
saying
saying that. No,
That's what he's
assuming that that's
saying.
the case. If there's nothing wrong to go there and go and register. What is the
He knows the chunk of those who have traveled to Bongo. That's what he said.
No, the question I'm making is that yes,
Me, I don't have a problem with that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong. So be bold.
There's no law that has been flouted.
Be bold.
Nothing.
Okay, but in the midst of all this, somehow or other, the EC has been slapped with a court ruling. As of yesterday, we suddenly got the partial reliefs granted to Abu Ramadan in reference to the national health, those who registered using the national health insurance card. What do you make of it? Big challenge ahead for the EC, because really, we just have, last week, as of Friday, we had 192 days for elections. So I guess a week past that, we are down to 180 or something.
Yeah, I think that if you listen to commentaries on the ruling, one common denominator in all the discussion has been that nobody has yet read the full
Fair point.
judgment.
Fair point.
So every other thing is based on rumor, and then sometimes, so I spoke to somebody close to the action or things like this.
Oh, but the lawyers have been speaking.
Including even your own report. I see you had created the impression in your own portal. I'm talking on my job online. Created the impression that they have directed EC that they should go and delete. Meanwhile, no, hold on.
There's a caveat.
Yes. Meanwhile, yes.
That they be allowed to re-register.
You see, you didn't emphasize that in your reportage.
No, we did.
You did not
They did.
You didn't emphasize that on your reportage.
Okay, but your point exactly
But
is
my point is this: that is at the end of the day, basically, based on the ruling, people with the NHIS card should be given the opportunity to demonstrate or maybe demonstrate that they are Ghanaians using other forms of identity. I've always had my own issues with that, because I think that the forms, but the lack is that the current law allows the guarantors also as a matter of fact to be able to use. Because if you were to look at the driver's license passport, and whatever, for me it's elitist in nature. My village,
that's true.
Yes,
obviously, how many people at age 18 are driving or traveling
and things like that. The person, this is not his preoccupation to be thinking about a driver's license or that. But of course, they have from what we are all hearing and reading from some of these pieces of information that keep coming on, that look, these people should be given the opportunity to re-register, particularly at the time they were registering, it was legal to use the NHIS card. So I think that the EC needs to look at something like that. But it's also important to realize that one of the deputy commissioners, I think,
Georgina,
yes, made a point that look, this is an exercise that we're already doing. So to a large extent, that directive was in itself was redundant, because they were already doing it. And so I'm just happy that
she said they were seeking to remove unqualified people from the role, which could also be people who are deceased. They had issued some directives to the district assemblies that they assist them in removing these names.
But you see,
but in terms of the
but if I know the other part, you see, the other part that keeps surprising me in all this discourse is that there's this impression being created that all the supposed, let's assume that the number they are parading around is about 600,000 or is it how many thousand people with NHIS
who registered with NHIS
as a form of identification.
I don't know about
yes, there's this number that
600,000 are the dead.
Excuse me.
The 600,000, they are the dead people.
Ghanaian 600,000 people.
Dead
okay.
People.
So whatever the situation
NHIS
is,
cars, we're talking about 4 million.
About 4 million.
About
4 million. So if you have about 4 million, and the impression sometimes you hear when you, even though they don't state it categorically, what you hear people do seem to suggest that this 4 million that he's quoting are NDC people. No.
Anyway,
your thoughts on this, because this is a for the MPP, Dr. Bawumia, for him, feels that this is a position they've been pushing for some time, and they've been vindicated.
We feel vindicated on a number of grounds. First of all, we've always challenged the credibility of the voters register, and there's a historical fact to this. In 2012, the EC said they registered 241,000 people abroad. When the Supreme Court of Ghana asked them to submit, they only submitted 700. So it presupposes that over 200 and 30,000 plus and over were not accounted for. Aside that, we've also maintained that there are minors and foreigners on the register. The NDC always, their position was that there's nothing wrong with the register.
No.
Instead, after every election, you do some minor surgery. Minor surgery. We're talking about savage butchering of the register. Savage butchering.
But these minors you've been complaining about since 2012, now they are adults.
Well, that's another point. But the foreigners are still on it. And the NHIA card holders, there's something about the NHIA cards. When you're going for NHIA cards, you are not asked whether you're a Ghanaian or not. You are not asked whether you're of sound mind or not. But for you to be a registered voter in Ghana, you should be 18 years and above, of sound mind, and a Ghanaian citizen. Meaning that the process in acquiring the NHIA card is inconsistent with the provisions of our constitution when it comes to being a registered voter. So we felt vindicated. However, if Madam Amankwa says that they were already doing that, why didn't they say that to the court? Because they sat through the entire duration, throughout the legal tussle. They never on an occasion said they were deleting names from the register. In any case,
but you know the direction.
Oh, I know, but let me come there. There's a process to that. Even if you are deleting names, the person must know why you are deleting his or her name. It must then go to a magistrate court. How then do you go to a magistrate court when the highest court of the land has given a ruling? That means you are trying to rate a magistrate court above that of the Supreme Court. And I'm surprised about her comment. And I do not know what the lawyers of the plaintiffs will do. Because for me, I'm also contempt. I've been a contemnor before. I've had my fair share of being a contempt man. And I don't wish that for the EC woman. Again, Jifa, I also find it intriguing. He's talking about people, trying to misconstrue the judgment. The judgment was clear, saying the EC should take immediate steps to get the names of minors and foreigners and NHIA card holders off the register. However, how do you do that if you don't validate it? Because if I use an NHIA card in registering in 2012, the Supreme Court is saying, give me an opportunity to re-register. I can only do that when I can present myself that I did register with the NHIA card. I'm willing to register again, but with this ID. So the EC cannot just sit down and say they are deleting names.
All right. I have to stop you there and just give you 30 seconds, 2 days left for you. What should we look ahead?
Well, we intend maintaining a very vigilant posture. As I said, the NPP is very wide awake in this registration period and is going to carry on into the elections as well. And it's also our hope and prayer that the EC will listen to the prayers of the youth of Ghana and the students on the various campuses and give them an opportunity to also have the change that they desire by registering. Mr. Bauer.
I think that for us as a party, we'll continuously abide by the regulations that guide the exercise. We'll ensure that our people come out to register. We'll ensure that at the end of the day, the proper people, the right people enter into the register. And we do that not through violence, but through the laid-down procedure. All
right, and some of you have been sending messages. Sorry, they've come a bit late. This one from Ahmed Inwa. I'm calling on all stakeholders of Ghana to support the EC for credible elections. The posture of the NPP towards the EC is a clear indication that the NPP will reject the November 7th polls if it doesn't favor them. Well, you don't know that for sure. We can only wait till November 7th. This one says, Sami, you really made my day. No need to eat kra. God bless you. That's for Sami Ewuku. This one says, if only General Mosquito said that, then what's the NPP's problem? Sami Ewuku saying that the NPP don't register minors. Well, they said they don't do that. And final message. This one says, I'm really enjoying the show. That's from Francis in Dumkwa. I think the NDC man is quite on top of the issue. Thank you very much for your messages. Sorry we couldn't read many of them. Next week we'll try and do better. Thanks to Edward Bauer of the NDC for coming in. He is the parliamentary nominee for the Bungo constituency for the NDC. Also thanks to Sami Ewuku, National Youth Organizer of the NPP. Thanks to you for watching and to those of you who sent your messages. My name is Jifa Bampo. Join us again next Friday for another edition. But remember, Majority Caucus is on Wednesdays and Minority Caucus is on Thursdays. Have a good evening.